Today I want to talk about a pet peeve of mine. This has bothered me for years and years and years, and that is oil and gas professionals who think and claim to be experts on the energy transition. Now, just because you've got expertise in the oil and gas industry, which is basically extracting and transporting molecules to, refineries or to natural gas plants or whatever it is, that somehow that makes you an expert on all things energy. Well, I'm here to that is not the case. And I want to illustrate my point with the dispute that I got into last August with some folks who put together a course at the University of Alberta. So somebody sent me a link to this course, and it was on the energy transition, and they said, take a look, check it out, because we do a lot of energy transition work and reporting here at Energi Media. So I did, and I wrote a column, and I said, this course absolutely stinks. It's terrible. And the instructor, who shall go unnamed to protect the guilty, is not qualified to do it. And so here's the argument though. This course posited that there's only two ways of looking at the energy system. The one is sort of the oil and gas forever, the OPEC view, which is, oil and gas is going to be around forever. The global south is going to increase consumption, and whatever new energy sources are added, like wind and solar, it'll be added to, it won't displace existing energy from oil, gas, and from coal as well, I guess. And then the other worldview is the climate change, which is basically the world is, the environmental groups, climate groups argue this. The world is burning up. We need to phase out oil and gas, switch to renewable energy, and do away with it. So the course basically argued that no, what we really need to do, what the energy transition means, is decarbonizing oil and gas, reducing the emissions, eliminating the emissions from the production of oil and gas, not the consumption, not the actual combustion, say, of gasoline in an internal combustion engine, which is where 80% of the emissions are produced. It's decarbonizing the production of those molecules. And what their cardinal sin here, and I made this really clear in the column, is that there is a third way of looking at the world, and that is that electricity produced now primarily from a variety of sources, wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, advanced geothermal, all sorts of things, and also coal and natural gas, and it'll take decades before we get rid of those entirely, but primarily you create electricity, and then you have a whole new set of new technologies that turn that energy into work. So instead of an internal combustion engine, you have an electric vehicle motor. Instead of a gasoline tank, you've got a battery. Instead of a gas furnace in your house, you've got a heat pump. Instead of that sort of thing. And that's a completely different way of looking at it. And in fact, if you step outside of North America, we interview experts in Europe and Asia, and that is the dominant way of looking at the energy transition. It's very much an electrification of the global economy on both the supply side. So you're increasing the amount of electricity that gets produced in the power grid or on your rooftop solar, whatever, and also adoption of new technologies like electric vehicles, like battery storage, like heat pumps. Okay, so I would argue that there are only two real worldviews here. One is continue the way we're going, just add more energy sources, or electricity and electric demand devices, technologies will replace the commodities, oil, gas, and coal, and the devices like internal combustion engines that turn that commodity into energy and into work. Okay. So I wrote the column, and the organizers of the course, one of them in particular, was outraged, absolutely outraged. Tore me a new one on LinkedIn and said very, very rude things. And also, and this is the key part of this, is that it complained by tagging them in the LinkedIn post, tagged one of our funders. We have two, and this is one of the large foundations in Canada. And because they were tagged, it was public, they felt obligated to check it out. Check out the accusation that I didn't know, that I had somehow impugned the integrity of this course and of the instructor. So they sent one of their staff, the foundation did, sent one of their staff to take the course. And they did that, reported back to the board, and what did they say? Markham is correct. Markham got it absolutely right. That's exactly it. In fact, they kind of had a good chuckle over it. And so here's my point, is that these guys, they don't even know when they're wrong. And when it's pointed out to them that they're wrong, they simply go la 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 and don't listen to you and get all affronted. And if you see them on social media, if you run into them in real life, they're absolutely sure that they're correct. It's Dunning-Kruger. If you're an oil and gas engineer, for example, what do you know about electricity generation in China and the manufacturing of batteries, electric vehicles, and heat pumps, or how efficient they are, or what the cost is, or how fast? If you don't look at the data, you don't know. And these guys never look at the data. It's astonishing to me that so many of them, and I'll point out Brett Wilson as one example, because he comments all the time on social media, in fact on my Facebook threads all the time, and he says, no, you're wrong. Well, where's the data, Brett? Well, he hasn't got any. Because he's absolutely sure that he's right, even though he's absolutely wrong. And this goes on and on and on again, and so I want to make the point here that when you're reading something or you're engaged in conversation in social media, or maybe you're around the dinner table, you're in Calgary or Edmonton or someplace, and you're a family that works in the oil industry, and they will say with absolute certainty, look, I work in the energy industry, I know these things. No, they don't. They absolutely don't. I talk to policymakers. I talk to people in the industry. I interview them. I have conversations with them, sort of off camera. None of them know any of the data. None of them do any of the work and the research to educate themselves on what's going on outside of North America. It's quite criminal. And these are the people who are setting Alberta oil and gas policy, energy policy. Some of them are having a tremendous influence at the federal level, and they don't know. They don't. The emails I get late at night from people who run oil companies or make policy in Alberta would curl your toes. They're that devoid of evidence and information. So if there's anything you take, there's one, I want to hammer this home over and over and over again, and that is oil and gas professionals aren't energy transition experts.